not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
Keep going, LeBron.
Hey.
Keep counting, LeBron. 70 for Texas against Texas Tech on Saturday. What's up, guys? BK, Brad Kellner. Today is Monday, September 27th, 2021. What a performance by the Texas offense at DKR on Saturday. The Longhorns hang 70, second most ever in a conference game in school history. Texas gets the win over Texas Tech, 70-35, the final from Austin Saturday afternoon. This one was an absolute beatdown from pretty much the opening drive. Texas's offense unbelievably efficient. The most points the Longhorns have scored in a game since the Big 12 championship in 2005, when the Longhorns whooped up on Colorado 70-3 en route to a national championship. By the way, this 2021 team has now done things in back-to-back weeks that no Texas team has done since 2005. I'm not comparing the 2021 Longhorns to the 2005 Longhorns, but the 58-point margin of victory against Rice last weekend, largest margin of victory for Texas since 2005, and now the 70-burger the Longhorn offense, with some help from the defense, put up against Texas Tech on Saturday, the most points Texas has scored in a game since 2005. Anytime you can do anything that gets you compared to that national championship team, that means you are doing something right. What a game. What a performance by Texas against Texas Tech. It's been a fun year for the Longhorns against the Red Raiders, right? I mean, obviously this football game was a ton of fun, but getting Chris Beard a couple of months ago, stealing their basketball coach, yeah, a lot of trash you could talk to your Texas Tech friends here in 2021. This video will just kind of be a brief overview of the game, sort of a big picture look at what happened on Saturday and also what it might mean moving forward for Texas football. Later this week, or I should say throughout the course of this week, we'll kind of dive in more X's and O's, more what I liked, what I didn't like from the game itself on Saturday. And of course, we'll start to preview TCU as the week progresses, but just wanted to give some thoughts. I was there. I was in attendance on Saturday. Could only go for the first half, but that's all I really needed to see. I was in Austin for a wedding that started Saturday around 4:30, 5 o'clock. So didn't want to risk anything, but decided last minute to go in. I was tailgating with some buddies. 10:55 hits, and I'm like, man, I'm so close to the stadium. My buddies and I are like, all right, let's check tickets. Let's see what we can find. And bought tickets for like $20, nosebleed seats, but whatever. We were in there. And we didn't get to our seats until after Texas was up 7-0, right? The Longhorns get the ball first, and in less than 4 minutes, they marched down the field. Casey Thompson to Bijan Robinson, who was just, both of those guys were spectacular. Casey Thompson was just named Big 12 Conference Offensive Player of the Week for his 6-touchdown performance. And Bijan, what can you say about him at this point? The best running back in college football. He's got to be in the Heisman conversation. And if he keeps playing the way he played on Saturday, he will definitely be in the Heisman conversation as the year goes along. He was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Texas goes up 7-0 before I even reach my seats. And I'm like, damn, that sucks. Like, I missed a touchdown. I picked Texas to win, but I didn't think they were going to go for 70. So I was like, all right, well, I don't know how many of these I'm going to see. I know it can only stay for a half of football. I just missed a score. That's kind of a bummer. Well, the Longhorns hooked it up. They hooked me up with 5 more touchdowns in the first half. How about a 42-point outburst in the first 30 minutes for Texas? They ended with 70 guys. They could have had way more than that. I mean, Texas's last touchdown came with 13 and a half minutes to go in regulation, and they took their foot off the gas. They pulled the starters. They ran the football pretty much exclusively in the fourth and final quarter. This could have been worse than 70-35 for Texas Tech. The Texas offense was unbelievably good on Saturday. And Tech's defense was actually decent coming into this game, especially by Texas Tech standards. Now, Tech hadn't played anybody great. They played Houston at NRG Stadium, and they beat the Cougars with a strong second half. They scored 31 unanswered in that football game and pitched a second half shutout against the Cougars. But their other 2 non-conference games, Stephen F. Austin and Florida International. So Tech's defense and Tech in general hadn't really been tested too much, but their defense had been pretty solid. Like, statistically, that was their strength of their football team coming into this weekend, and Texas just crushed them. I mean, Tech had no answers. The Longhorns did not punt on Saturday. That's actually 2 weeks in a row where the Texas offense has not punted the football at all. Also, 0 field goal attempts in the last couple of weeks. It's been pretty damn nice to see. Cameron Dicker's only run has been on extra points for this football team as of late. Just a phenomenal response by Texas after the debacle that took place in Fayetteville a couple of weeks ago. By the way, shout out to Arkansas. I don't like to give shout outs to Arkansas that often. I don't like to root for Arkansas that often, but they did beat Texas A&M over the weekend. That was kind of nice to see, right? That loss is always going to look bad. That loss is always going to hurt, but if Arkansas continues to play well, obviously that makes the loss look a little bit better for Texas. And yeah, a lot of Aggies were talking noise after Texas got whooped by Arkansas a couple of weeks ago. Arkansas pretty dominant against the Aggies on Saturday, but that's neither here nor there. The point is a great response by Texas over the last couple of weeks. Look, Rice, not a very good football team, but 58-0, pretty damn impressive. Texas was a 26-point favorite in that game. They more than doubled what Vegas expected them to do. And then, 70-35 over Texas Tech on Saturday. Look, Texas Tech, not a great football team. They're going to be fighting for bowl eligibility this year. They're probably a bottom 3, if not a bottom 2 team in the Big 12 in 2021. Matt Wells, his seat is very warm in Lubbock. I kept checking Twitter on Saturday night and yesterday looking for a tweet that said Matt Wells had been fired by Texas Tech. Like, it was that bad, and Tech fans are that pissed. And the first 2 years of the Matt Wells era did not go well. They got off to a good start this year, and they got their ass kicked by their biggest rival. That was a bad loss, and the game plans for Texas Tech were atrocious on both sides of the football. That doesn't take away from anything Texas did, but Texas Tech just, sheesh, tough times in Lubbock. But for Texas, great response after the loss to Arkansas. Now it gets a little tougher. You got to go to Fort Worth. Every Texas fan knows how much of a thorn in the side TCU has been to Texas over the last decade. The Horned Frogs 7-2 against the Longhorns in the last 9 years. The Purple Kryptonite has kind of shifted from Manhattan, Kansas to Fort Worth because TCU has had the Longhorns number, and Gary Patterson is not shy about how much he loves beating Texas. TCU, not a very good football team right now. They lost over the weekend to SMU in the battle for the Iron Skillet, underrated rivalry name. Yeah, TCU is not great, guys. And Texas is favored. They opened up as a 3-point favorite, and early money is coming in on Texas. The line's up to 5 right now, and that scares the hell out of me. Everything about Fort Worth, everything about TCU scares the hell out of me because, well, it feels like Texas has more talent than TCU does this year. It's felt like Texas has had more talent than TCU more often than not over the last 9 years, and more often than not, Texas has come up short against the Horny Toads. So a little bit nervous, but yeah, the schedule gets tougher. Even though TCU has not looked great to open up the year, TCU's a better football team than Texas Tech. You obviously have to go on the road. The only other time Texas went on the road this season, it was not pretty. And then after TCU, well, you stay in the Metroplex, and you got the game against Oklahoma, who also does not look that good. We'll talk more about the Big 12 in a future video, but guys, the Big 12 is wide open right now. It feels very winnable. Now, Oklahoma should still be the pick to win the conference just because they always find ways to win this league, but they're not very good. 5-point win over Tulane, 1-possession win over Nebraska, game-winning field goal needed to beat West Virginia in Norman this weekend. They're not that good. Iowa State lost to Baylor. They've lost twice this year. TCU looks Oklahoma State's already lost. Like, this league is open, guys. This league is open, and it's been open a lot over the last decade, but God, it feels more open than it's been in a long, long time. So perhaps an opportunity for Texas to make some noise here, and a great way to start conference play for the Longhorns. Didn't love everything I saw from the defense. Gave up a lot of big plays. Henry Colombi, I'll give him some love. The Texas Tech backup came in after Tyler Shuck went down, and he was flinging it. But a lot of that had to do with just some defensive breakdowns by Texas. More specifically, the Texas secondary. Now, I think it's kind of human nature when your offense is doing what it's doing and your lead is as big as your lead was to kind of let your foot off the gas a little bit. And maybe that can kind of explain some of the big plays that Texas Tech had in the second half, but still not what you want to see. You're going to be going up against better quarterbacks in this league than Henry Colombi, and your offense is not going to be going for 70 week in and week out. It'd be awesome if that did happen, but yeah, that's not going to happen. But Casey Thompson, give him some love. He's been magnificent. I saw Anwar Richardson from Orange Bloods tweet this out yesterday. Since the Alamo Bowl, since the second half of the Alamo Bowl, when Casey Thompson came in for Sam Ellinger, He's led 26 offensive drives for Texas, and the Longhorns have scored on 23 of them. 21 touchdowns and 2 field goals. So not just like scoring touchdowns on 21 of 26 drives since Casey Thompson took over in the Alamo Bowl against Colorado. He's been awesome. And look, he deserved to start against Rice. Obviously played well against Rice, deserved to start against Texas Tech. Right now, this is his job. No questions asked. He just finds ways to score. And Sark talked about it all off season long when he was trying to figure out who he should name his QB1. He wanted the guy who was going to lead Texas on scoring drives and find ways to put points up on the scoreboard. Well, the numbers are there, guys. That is Casey Thompson. It's been Casey Thompson this year. And of course, it was Casey Thompson in the bowl game last year. Great to see him dominate. The run game, awesome. Again, the Texas offensive line had its best performance of the year. Like Texas, the big uglies up front for Texas played better against Texas Tech than they did against Rice. Like, I didn't think the Texas offensive line played that great against Rice. They played pretty damn well. They ran for 400-plus yards. Like, the O-line wasn't bad at all against Rice, but everybody knows how bad they were in Fayetteville. They were dominant on Saturday against Texas Tech. And Texas Tech, once again, weak non-conference schedule, but they entered Saturday as the fifth best rush defense in the country. And Texas ran for 336 on 6.5 yards per carry. Also 4 rushing touchdowns for Texas. Like, the O-line was dominant, and they gave Casey Thompson plenty of time to throw the football all day long on Saturday. The best performance of the season from the Texas offensive line. Give some love to Kyle Flood, who I think is a phenomenal coach. My only question with him was, well, can he turn that group around over the course of one off season? And look, Texas will have tougher tests. TCU's got a better D-line. Oklahoma's got a better D-line. Iowa State, Baylor. There are better defensive lines in this conference, but night and day difference from the Texas offensive line from 2 weeks ago to what we saw on Saturday. Hopefully that group continues to get better, because if they play the way that they played on Saturday, Texas has a damn good shot to get to Arlington and play for a conference championship in 2021. Bijan's awesome. Rojo, 2 touchdowns for him. Good to see Jonathan Brooks get some run. That guy looks like he's got the potential to be a solid player. And then Xavier Worthy. The hype is real. Everybody talked this kid up all off season long. He's legit. 3 touchdowns for him. 100-yard receiving day. Jordan Whittington, a touchdown as well. Nice bounce back performance by him. Just all cylinders for Texas. An incredibly efficient offensive performance. They did not punt in the entire football game, and they scored a touchdown on every single drive except for 2, which I think is 2 weeks in a row where the Longhorns have scored on every offensive possession except for 2. And in the Rice game, I think there was an interception and a turnover on downs. And in this game, an interception and a turnover on downs. The pick, Casey Thompson trying to do a little bit too much on a 3rd and long. Didn't ultimately matter. The Texas defense kind of bailed him out and forced a punt. But that was the one blemish, the one mistake on Casey Thompson's ledger. Otherwise, he was perfect. So they wrecked him. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. Wrecked him. I think that's what you're supposed to say when you beat Texas Tech. But I don't like saying that. I feel like this video might get flagged for inappropriate content at that point. Okay. Texas wins. They dominated Texas Tech. We're not talking about any of that other stuff. But TCU coming up next. Worried about that. Once again, throughout the course of this week, we'll talk more about what went right for the Longhorns, what needs to be cleaned up, and we'll start to go behind enemy lines and preview TCU a little bit. But, I mean, what a performance, guys. 42-14 at halftime. 40-point halves are a beautiful thing. 70 burgers are a beautiful thing. It was a lot of fun, and the Tech fans left DKR unhappy. Just a fun one to watch. A nice, stress-free, easy win for Texas. That's 2 in a row. And once again, 70 points, the most by a Texas team in a single game since 2005. So I think that's going to do it for this video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to hit just in this brief sort of overview. I'll give some love to Josh Thompson for the pick 6. Terrible throw by Tyler Shuck, who we found out hurt his collarbone, hurt his shoulder, diving in for Texas Tech's first touchdown of the game, which came after the Keelan Robinson offsides on the punt block. Didn't love that, but didn't matter. But yeah, that was a good read by Josh Thompson. Pretty easy read, a bad throw, a late read from Tyler Shuck. But look, I'll give Josh Thompson some credit. He made the play and housed it. And that kind of felt like the dagger pretty early on for Texas. That made it 28-7. And Texas Tech just had no answers all game long. So nice win for the Longhorns. Texas now 3-1 on the season, 1-0 in Big 12 conference play. Y'all comment below your thoughts on the game. Any questions you have, thoughts on this video. What do you want me to talk about this week, whether it's Texas Tech related or TCU related or Big 12 related, whatever is on y'all's mind. But it was all gas, no breaks for the most part. Texas kind of tapped the brakes in the fourth quarter because 70 points was more than enough to get the win, but just an ass whooping by Texas on Saturday against Texas Tech. And the great year for UT against the Red Raiders continues here in 2021. But yeah, y'all's thoughts below. Would love to hear from y'all. Please like this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe to this channel and tap that notification bell so you're always informed when I drop new content. Quick shout out to Last Stand Hats. Of course, the All Gas No Breaks hat came from laststandhats.com. If you use the code BK10 at checkout, you see that scrolling across the bottom of your screen, you'll get 10% off your purchase of any Last Stand hat. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Once again, more videos coming this week, so stay tuned. And shout out to myself, I guess a plug for myself, ESPN 97.5, The Wheelhouse, 3 to 7 every weekday afternoon. You can listen to me down in Houston or ESPN975.com if you are outside the Houston listening area. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, y'all stay safe, y'all stay healthy, and hook 'em.